Okay, so today is going to be one of the last days, if not the last day. I forget. Maybe it'll be one more episode of me playing this sort of blue-white torture, and then we'll be free to first episode of the next expansion. As always, I'll do a 10k draft, and then I'll start playing as like red and black, right? And then we'll finally maybe rotate back to playing as green or something else. But whatever, we've gone through basically every color, quote unquote. I was playing green like exclusively, so this expansion I forced myself to play as like my two least favorite colors. Obviously green is my favorite, so I forced myself to play as blue and white, and I've actually enjoyed blue a good amount just because, again, I like the hexproof mechanic so much. But I don't know what else you would do with it, really. You'd have to have other win conditions and other crazy stuff that I don't really like doing all the time, or whatever. I just don't feel like doing it right now. What's interesting with how I play games like this, especially like I'm playing it for the first time too, on top of everything else, is that I was triggering a couple of people, or this always happens, like they're saying, oh, you should, people are playing to win and you should metagame and you should do all this. But it's like the two aren't even exclusive, so it always goes in one direction. Like, I'm not saying that anybody should play like this, and even like this is kind of broad and hard to define. Like, just use kind of different mechanics and interesting gimmicks and weird stuff that you just personally like or want to try out. Like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if you combine these two cards to have this one interaction, even if it's not a good one, even if you're not going to win games because of it competitively, right? It's just interesting, and you're just looking for something like that. Right, so that's one part of it. But even if you said, I'm not saying that anyone else should or has to play the game like that, but the impression is the other way, like, oh, you have to play the game only one way and only, metagame and use the best decks, modern decks, etc. That's the thing. It's like those people, this happens in MMOs too, like, oh, you have to do everything this exact optimal way. It's like they'll always say that, right? People who are meta head people are going to always insist upon their way of doing things, that everyone must do it that way. But people like me who are just doing other things, like, they're not exclusive. I can still do what they're doing. They could still arguably do what I'm doing, but it's just like, I don't really care, whereas they constantly get triggered and tell you, oh, you have to do it this way and this way only. So there was that great irony with WoW like that, where, oh, it's like I'm RPing or I'm doing other things, and I'm like just fed up with people always being annoying about it, and it's like, oh, haha, that's like I'm telling them how to play the game, telling them they're playing it the wrong way by simply not playing it the same way they are and doing my own little thing in RP and permadeath or whatever. But then it's like the reality is they're saying it, right? I'm just minding my own business, doing my own thing, but then everybody else has this assumption that, oh, you're playing it wrong, or oh, haha. There's always this like hindsight bias too. Like, they act like, oh, haha, you don't know any better. Like, oh, look at this guy, he doesn't even know what a good deck is, or how this works. But the point is, what if it's just a choice? They're choosing to do a particular build. They're choosing to play a melee only hunter in an MMO. Like, they're just doing it out of preference. And what's ironic with that is when a game indulges that sort of thing, then people jump on the bandwagon, like permadeath. If you had done a permadeath run of WoW or whatever, like an MMO 10 years ago, right before there was like an official thing of it, like, oh, there's no mod, there's no, the Warcraft Blizzard like embracing it, then people will be like, oh, what why are you doing that? That's just weird, etc. But now when they do it officially, now you jump on the bandwagon. So it's the same thing like with this. Oh, if you do some weird zany deck or some other format that you're doing, it's like, oh, that's just a weird thing. Why are you doing that? Just metagame, zero-sum optimal stuff. But then they'll make a mode that embraces that, like, Tavern Brawls and Hearthstone or something, and then all of a sudden people jump on the bandwagon. So it's like you have to have that imagination where you are willing to do that yourself. Like, you can always have fun with it. That's the whole thing that people miss in card games. So I don't remember seeing this last year, because I was playing in July. I started in 2022, the end of 22, so I would have certainly been playing in July, but I don't remember this even happening. So all the stuff that rotates out of standard, which doesn't affect me at all, because I don't really play standard anyway. And then, what else? Just the fact that, I've been playing actually timeless rather than just even historic. Upcoming renewal. You will receive a gift this renewal season, okay. The text is kind of clipping through that a little bit. Acquired. They do give you a lot of this free sort of shit. Dynamite. See, like, I don't associate red with dinosaurs that much. Why does it seem like it's getting cut off, too? Okay, fine. That is a lot of good shit, but that's like a once-a-year thing, I suppose, where stuff will rotate out. So let's see how many more weeks are actually left of this. And I do have enough for the 10k draft, but kind of barely, because this expansion I've been sort of lazy and not really. But no, that's one of the things, not really trying to get the orbs for the reward track. That's one thing that I always notice or trigger in people in games, right? Just like people always want to act like you know, oh, they know better, or they're the wiser, or they're, you know, hindsight bias, like, oh, haha, look how smart I am, just because they use borrowed knowledge or something. Like, anybody can do that. Now, that doesn't mean it diminishes the result. Like, okay, you get to mythic rank 1, like legend rank 1 in Hearthstone or whatever, you're the best player in the world. That's fine, that'll speak for itself. But those kind of people probably don't feel the need to show off and talk shit as much, right, because their actions speak for themselves. But the people who are really good at something don't need to say anything, right? Just let your accomplishments speak for themselves. But then the people in the middle tier were like, they're okay, or they're kind of just average. They have this need to show off, like, oh, haha, look at me metagaming, and I'm doing the same thing everyone else is, maybe slightly better, slightly worse. But then they have a need to, you know, do this like bottom feeder fake elitist effect, like, oh, it's not enough for you to go and try to show off against other people who are doing the same thing, but oh no, I'm going to show off against either somebody playing in for the first time, or somebody new, or somebody deliberately doing something that isn't about that. So, wait, 25 lands, all this stuff should be fine. Oh yeah, what did it say here? 14 days. So we'll have one more episode, and maybe two, because I forget if... I say this every fucking time. I feel like if I do it next Monday and then the Monday after that, it'll still be this expansion. So it'll actually be 3 more episodes, including today. And then we always start like a week into the next one that I play it for the first time. So, which is a little bit annoying. I wish it was like one day off, but that's just how my schedule is. And the one thing I was trying to introduce as a format is like, oh, if I win a best of 3, which is not much of an accomplishment, but if I win a best of 3, I'd be in a position to... I could play Magic Online, kind of switch between the two, since I did start a playthrough of that with just one measly episode, and I just kind of tried it out. But I don't even have time really to do that, so it's at least an option that's on the table. But we kind of go between these two and see which one does better between the white and the blue. And Hexproof, again, is just... Blue is just Hexproof and ward emphasis, and white is like flying and buffing sort of emphasis, which didn't really come together too well. But no, there's always like an easy answer that people... go for, but then don't you get bored of that anyway, because then you'll keep doing the same thing over and over. There's so much variety in these games, even though says the guy who's used the same deck for like the whole expansion. But whatever, the whole principle behind it is still what I've been looking for, and I am using like every hexproof card you can in the game, or at least every blue and white one. So there really aren't that many for what you would expect this mechanic to have, right? It's just something that I like so much. And that guy was suggesting you should do Brawl, because then it's not as competitive, but this creates a whole different dynamic, and a lot of the cards I want to use, you can't even do. So it's very important for me to have that timeless aspect. Either timeless or historic, but even this is more unrestricted. Which again, you might think, oh, that makes it too competitive, but it doesn't really matter, because either people are going to be at low ranks, not very good themselves, or using bad decks themselves just because their collection's not that good, etc. Or... they'll be trying other gimmicks and interesting things like this too, so I don't see the problem with playing on ranked that way. That's the whole point of low ranks, right? Why you don't need to play unranked, just play at literal bottom feeder shit bronze rank. And that's the whole irony with somebody like me too. I wouldn't want, when I first start playing a game, I wouldn't even want them to give me like a free deck, like, oh, give me the best deck in the game, and like it'll be boring, or I wouldn't even use it. I'd use it maybe a little bit, and then I've never liked that, because I don't care about, you know, I want to like try a whole bunch of different things, so I'd rather have more variety of stuff than actual just the best stuff. I've beaten gold rank players here before, but it's maybe been a while since I won actually a best set of 3. I typically maybe could win like 1 game. This thing is actually very good. Or the one change that I maybe made was that I added like multiple copies of the same card, so I was trying to use that as a format where, you know, just for sheer variety, I sometimes will say, I'm using the one mechanic, but then I'll, instead of using 4 of this one good card, I'll use 1 of each, just to represent the mechanic as, you know, broadly as possible. You can basically turn this into something with vigilance if you just keep doing it like this. But I've gotten mana screwed with this deck the way I've never gotten mana screwed before in my life, because I really don't know how I would even fix that. Like, I'll make a hybrid with green to fucking have the Caratids and stuff. They give you 1 mana of any color and stuff like that. Archdruid's Charm, search for library for creature land card, reveal it. Yeah, I've been very disciplined not playing green in a super long time, or maybe I played it briefly and online if I played like 1 session of that. I don't even remember doing that though. Like, if I maybe only played it once. Like, if I win a best of 3 here, I could totally do it, but then I won't even have time to do it, really. That's the problem. And especially if I have to try to get back to doing daily quests again for like next expansion, if there's some cosmetic that I want, that motivates me more than trying to get gold or cards or anything. I just don't get how you can get mana screwed this hard. Like, we have a lot of land in here. That thing, I've never even really used the effects. I don't care. But what you can do is you can... No, you actually can't do that. Yeah, I could win just for this alone. This is how stupid it is. If I got like 2 of these, Invisible Stalker, they might not be able to deal with it. There'll be that one game where they just can't. I hit you 3 more times with that and it's good enough. Like, fuck it. Whatever crazy win condition you're going for might not happen. But no, you want to see Timeless also for the variety of cards that, yes, everybody might be using the same sort of meta stuff, but it'll be at least a wider range of meta stuff from the entire history of the game than just, oh, the most recent meta stuff. Right, so you'll see, oh, this was a really good deck from... Whatever, this is a really good card from years ago combined with a really good card from now instead of just something more stale. Okay. You know, that alone I'm going to lose because I can't deal with stuff like that. I typically don't have a ton of removal or AoE, certainly not in this deck. This is like the most non-spell based blue deck that you've ever seen. And the reason why is because, well, even unless you consider, oh, it's a creature spell, which I always find that annoying and confusing, kind of. But the point is that it's not... Like, look how close we still get them. I'm obviously going to lose now because I don't have any other deeper play than what we see here. But they might not have an answer for the flying / ward, which is, you know, not really that hard to deal with. At least if it was hexproof, then I could understand, but... We get it, dude. We get it. We got you down to 7 health, and we'll still get one more chance, right? We would still get one more chance to kill you, so... And these ones actually can't even block, can they? Or they can. So, like, just think about that for a second. That you would, if you had, like, a buff or, like, one more little push here... I gotta have fucking 4 of these, but I can't because... If those couldn't block, then you might actually almost have... No, you still wouldn't have enough. There's another one just like this, obviously, that can't block. Okay, you don't even have to do anything, dude. I'm dead. Or now you finally... You do that just to deal with the 3/3 flying, of course. And not to just because it's such a good card. Yeah, see, like, I've rarely ever, if ever, seen that card. So that's good, at least. We get, like, a timeless experience to see all the cards and variety in the history of the game. Okay, whatever. Just hurry up. It's not even BM sometimes. It's just like slow. Like, why? None of what you're fucking doing matters. I have literally 2 land. Like, all this sort of land cycling generating bullshit. But no, that's what I sort of called for. Is I want like a legacy mode, which this game doesn't seem to really have. Maybe Brawl is sort of like that, but a lot of the stuff again that I would have found interesting to use, like none of this stuff is really even that good. Right, that... Okay, dude. But this makes it seem like a bot, because even a player wouldn't waste this of much of their own time. But no, the point is that a legacy mode, like maybe what online does have, where you can only use the oldest cards in the game, like for the first couple expansions, etc., up to a certain point. They can keep kind of rotating through that, so the point is that sometimes less is more. Not just that you can use older cards or gimmick cards or whatever, but that you would be forced to only use them, so then that's the best you can do. Then everybody will still be using the best meta deck within that context and criteria, but at least it levels it a little more, because it won't just be pure power creep. Hellspurs are the most hard-boiled and violent bandits of them all. They integrate the natural magic of the land directly into their bodies, turning themselves into something. One day we'll get a good open-world single-player Magic the Gathering game, like based in the universe with all the lore and stuff. Or, you know, and you'll have My Little Pony fucking mounts as a crossover. But you will have either that or like that Diablo-style game that they were talking about, which got canceled, but still. An MMO, single-player game, like I'll always keep calling for it. It just feels like a wasted opportunity not to have at least one game like that. And you could praise them like, oh, they're not exploiting their IP the way that, you know, all these other games do, but you kind of already are, in the sense that you're doing all these fucking stupid crossovers and stuff. you already kind of know what they're doing, but I'm also not somebody. Yeah, like all these mechanics I haven't used. This is a free-to-play first playthrough, no sideboarding. I've never sideboarded, I don't think. I've maybe had one, but I don't think I ever used it like that. And then, you know, I've done all these kind of other formats with it. Only played historic, only played, you know, timeless or historic, only really done, I mean, I guess there's no limit to how many drafts I can do, but only typically done the one draft at the beginning of an expansion, and I've only never like net decked, meta decked, anything like that. Even if I come up with a deck that's really good, like wow, I got to platinum with that thing in green, right, in historic, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but whatever. The point is, whatever I do, I would come up with myself in some way, or it'll be different. Not that you couldn't just copy what your opponent is doing, because it's impossible not to get advice in that sense. That's why playing MMOs like that is so annoying, because you'll see it just in chat alone. Like, oh, people will say stuff, even if they're not saying it to you. You'll have to turn off chat. Like, oh, they'll say, oh, this is good with this, or, you know, use this build. So they'll tell you even if you don't want to hear it. And I'm still gonna get fucked when it comes to this. You can do it, but I'm happy with the blue fishes because they're also like a little invisible stalker that can't be blocked. It's such a convoluted effect. Like, it's still good even if you use that, but it's a 4-mana 6/6 with not hexproof, but ward. No, that's the one thing I do really like, deeply love about blue, is the simple fact that that was my title like last week. My hate, the only thing deeper than the ocean is my hatred of blue and white. But again, there are at least certain aspects and mechanics I like. Maybe there's nothing in white that I really like. I don't even really like flying, but I was just trying to base it around that. You at least have 2 unblockable things, but whenever somebody has healing or removal or AoE or any... Oh god, the whole token thing can be annoying. What is that it requires for you to do that anyway? 7 out of 7. Whenever it or another land enters the battlefield, if you control 7 or more lands with different names. Okay. Doesn't seem like that hard of a condition to reach, really. So you could do it again, but I'm just going to lose on the pure pacing of it. Yeah, I could just make this deck myself. Just have 7 different land colors and just do that effect. And every time you did it, you might just win because people might not be able to deal with it. Or at least anybody like me certainly wouldn't be able to. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you can just do it every fucking turn, right? There's just way too many tokens to deal with. Like, how would you deal with that normally if you didn't have AoEs unless you summoned your own tokens? This game is maybe a bit too rampant for that at times, where there's too many things to do this, and of course you can have like this infinite board size at times. Now my epic final fish play, where at least if these couldn't block, I could understand it. Like, let me copy this guy's thing, Field of the Dead. Like, I've seen this card many times before. That seems like such an easy budget sort of thing to do. Yes, you need, I'm not going to actually play it, but maybe I'll make it just so I have it. Stuff like this, and then there's all those other stupid ones like the squirrels. Just things like so many copies of each other and themselves. I don't know, I just always defer to the means argument that, like, you can tell when something is not, you know, the best player in the world could use this exact deck. It's not going to make that much of a difference. Now, they maybe wouldn't want to use it, but that's besides the point. Like, within this exact criteria and format, this is what you have to do for now. Yeah, I love seeing that. Like, there are 2 things that people love in general. They love feeling smarter than other people, even if it's just hindsight or difference of measure and preference, etc. And they also love to sort of, whatever, use that as feigned superiority, like mistaking borrowed knowledge as your own. Like, even those same people who are, oh, haha, use this meta deck, they would have never come up with that meta deck themselves if they didn't, you know, just look it up or something. Like, when are you ever ahead of the curve with that kind of thing? So that we didn't win any, so let's see which does better out of the best of 3, and then, I don't know. Maybe I could play online, but I don't even really. I'll play like 1 game in it just to get my green addiction out, because that's the one allowance I have. I am not playing green in this game for a while, but whenever I play that, I happen to be playing it just because whatever. It's just what I was using in the first episode too. So that was a 0 and 2. So we might have to do a tie break if this goes 0 and 2 as well. It is very rare that I don't know, like, you'll sometimes catch good decks off guard, though, too. Like, I've beaten a gold player, I've beaten other, you know, people in this. It's just kind of weird. Like, they wouldn't expect what I'm doing, or they just can't deal with the hexproof. At least that's why, where hexproof is more decisive. Like, if you have a board full of hexproof stuff, they might not be able to deal with it, period. Especially if it has like a decent health value, their AoEs might not do enough, or again, there's certain AoEs that just clear the board overall, regardless of health value. But the point is that if you have a ward, then they can just deal with it in other ways. Like, oh, they just pay 2 mana, and then it's not a big deal, right? That becomes a little bit stupid. Whereas with hexproof, it's just a finality. Like, you either just have to deal with it on the board like a man or not. And of course, this game plays into that more. Like, you can't even fight stuff on the board, so, you know, this sort of removal is so necessary because you can't, you know, they have stuff on the board with effects. You can't do anything. I can never attack it, right? That turtle is one of my favorite cards because of that, where it forces them to attack at the end of a turn, so they can't keep hiding behind shit. In a weird way, this almost works the opposite of how most card games work, right? Like, where either you're forced to attack either you're forced to attack minions every time, or what the fuck? I don't know what to count that as, but yeah, what if you're tied 1-1 and then your next game is a draw in and of itself somehow? I don't feel like I've really seen a draw happen in the course of a game, but I guess it could. What was I saying? It's like you basically get to I don't know, it's just hexproof is better. Sometimes they can't deal with it, but yeah, ward is kind of caught between two things where later on in the course of the game it's not going to be that hard to do anything. Like, this might work in a more aggro sense, like if you had 4 of those fairies or something. Let me actually make something. I don't know why it's taking so long now. Let's go to my collection thing and see. And again, my collection might be pretty good in terms of the raw number of wild cards and stuff that I have, but not what I've made with them necessarily by choice, whatever I find interesting and stuff. So we have the simple ability to, let me see. I might even have it too, where it's going to be like under a land category, which imagine crafting a land. Field of the Dead, let's see. Wait, but this looks different, or there's just like different. Oh wow, that is actually a mythic card, so I won't actually make it then. Whenever it or a land enters the battlefield under your control, if you control 7 or more lands with different names, so it doesn't even mean that they have to be different colors, they could just be different names, right? Like, how many lands of different names do I have of green? It probably wouldn't work too well. Like, you probably would be in a position where, wait, how do you see that thing again? Oh, it might not show up because of that. Wait, I'm confused. I thought there was a whole tab for it before. Basic lands, but there's all these other kind of lands that are just weird, right? Like, you could use this one, and then you could use all kind of other ones that are like enters the battlefield tapped, etc., etc. But no, I didn't realize it was even a mythic card. Fine, so let's do another best of 3 with white. Or what was the other thing I wanted to see? Like, can I make more of the fairies? Because I'd be willing to do that. That's basically all it is. Like, get 4 of those out super early, and then 3 common. I don't think it's a common card though. It's like, let's see. Yeah, it's a gold. I have 2 of them. Damn it, I'll never get to see the final form of this deck just built based around that alone, because, you know, I won't be able to make 4 of them. Because of course you can't disenchant stuff in this game, which, again, between this game and PvZ Heroes, where I'm just choosing not to craft stuff, even though you can, and this game where you can't do it, it's sort of a blessing in disguise, because I can guarantee you my collection would have been all kind of fucked up, right? I would have kept shrinking it down and then shrinking it down again just because I keep deciding I want to use something different. And so the whole point is that it wouldn't have been to build even meta stuff. Yeah, that's what you got to ask yourself. Would you rather have 10 different fun decks you can use with all this variety of mechanics, or one good meta deck that you'd have to sacrifice them all for to craft them and break them down? You know, it's always the variety that I'm looking for. And you can always get to that later too, but 9 lives is in there just because it's hexproof. Everything in here is either flying or hexproof or something of the sort. Why does the music sound sort of weird? Huh, I'm hearing like it's like overlapping with something. So again, at least here we have a decent amount of land, but that's the biggest thing is like if that hexproof ward thing was a little more lower cost, but it's not by choice, right? There's just nothing else that has it. I literally have like everything in the game that has either one of the two, or at least that I could use with that color. Right, so even between blue and white doesn't have... Oh, I shouldn't... Oh, shit. You shouldn't do that until you're, like, about to die. Then they'll have to deal with that. Right, it's way too early because... Fuck. That's so dumb. You gotta wait till you're, like, at 1 health and then do it. Again, you could win just on the flying thing alone. It could happen. Right, if you just can't deal with flying, if you catch them off guard. You can never upkeep Investigate once. That's actually not a badly statted card. 3 mana, 2/4 with flying and vigilance. Like, wow. Must be a new-ish power creep type thing. Deals that much damage to a creature. 7. You have 3 left over, I guess. Some of these counters are very insular. Like, even though I like the poison counter thing for Toxic, it's also just very in its own world. Like, nothing else interacts with it. I don't think there's anything that even removes it. Or I guess there are things that just mention counters in general, so you'd have to look at it like that. What is this? Tap target creature. Okay, fine. But no, I already fucked up because I should have waited on 9 lives to whatever extent that might have been relevant. So again, this one is just meant to be degenerate in terms of flying and maybe a little bit of hexproof ward and maybe a little bit of buffing, which I was especially disappointed with buffs. Like, there aren't very many low-cost buffs that last beyond the end of the turn, so that's kind of a cuck job. You know, oh, everything will be give it plus X until the end of the turn. But what good does that do me? I want to keep beating on you with a flying thing every turn. You know, 2 mana for a +1/+1 permanent buff. Like, how hard is it? You'd really just have to do some kind of other mechanic where you combine it with a different color. So like, as many cards as this game has, it's still surprising that it's so limited when it comes to... I should maybe make this more hard commit. Just everything should be flying. I don't need all this other shit in here. Draw a card, fine. I have the mana now, but I don't have the fucking flying minions. What is all this other shit in there for? I don't get it. Just only flying, low cost flying. This one's at least a buff thing. Esquire of the King. That's what we used to call it back then, eh? Esquires. So what am I up to? 2 on the counter again. It's not very helpful because now I'm gonna get hit only 8 times. So unless their average damage output was like fucking 3 or 4, right, it wouldn't have mattered. So you never want to play it that early, unless you have some other reason for your health value to, you know, oh, if your health is at 27 or higher, you get like some bonus effect, right? Like you get to summon with that priest guy a 5/5 angel or some shit. Okay, dude. Kahira, insert Kira joke, like how people in Japanese say killer. That's right, I am Kahira. I never really used this mechanic either with the whole pet thing. Okay, hurry up, bro. You're already at 6 counters, you just have to hit me once in the face more. Wait, what? Or no, not 7 lives, 9 lives. This is fine. So even if I would have had a chance, I kind of fucked up. But let me actually no, actually it's too late now since I already... Well, if it's a draw, I might do that. I'll change it again. Or didn't I make like another deck altogether for blue and then I just didn't use it? Or I was trying to make like multiple copies? Because I'll change this to just being only flying stuff. That's it. or like flying and buffs. I'll get rid of all this other shit like that skull bomb thing. I don't know why the fuck I have that in there. Does that also mention a buff for its other effect, or like why would I even bother? Sacrifice, oh, I guess that's why. But until end of turn. So I'll get rid of the until end of turn thing and just put a bunch of more flying stuff in there. At least when I lose, it's on my own terms. But no, I just played that on instinct and didn't, you know, that's not the right way to play it at all. You got to make them think you don't even have it and then wait till you get to like 1 HP and then do it, and then it'll throw them all off. Because then it's just like, you know, net positive. Now you're going to take 8 more hits when you were at 1 health. Or just use a healing deck. Just use heals, lol, because fucking you're white. Now that's white privilege, being able to heal and heal over your max health total. Which I'm not the biggest fan of healing as a mechanic. The one way I do like it, like in Hearthstone, is when stuff is on the board, right? Like you have a 10-10 on the board and you trade into a 9-9, right? Then you heal it for like 9 back with a spell or whatever. That's good, and the reason why it's good is because that's what he's satisfying, but you don't get to do that here because everything auto heals anyway. So that's the one way I could potentially like healing. I don't. Yeah, I'm fine with just doing it like this. I don't see what the problem is, but this is amazing actually. Like if you just get a good board out, I'm gonna rush you down and buff everything up. Okay. Island or mountain? This guy is moving mountains to try to deal with my board. Knight, Counselor, enlisted creature. You get a one-time buff whenever you cast a creature spell. Creature enters the battlefield +1/+1. So I can't enlist it though, can I? Whatever, I can't do anything yet. Let's just wait. So how does it work again? As it attacks, you may tap a non-attacking creature you control. That's a decent board if I can just get like 1 more land and keep that shit going. Some of the statting isn't bad. Like this I'm happy with. Angel Detective. The Stone Brain. Ah, fuck, but this is where you get fucked up. Enlist. So like let's say we... I don't know what's going on. I have no idea. Whatever, something gets a buff. I thought it's like when you summon something, right? When you cast a creature spell, that creature enters the battlefield. You get a one-time boon. So where do you see that even reflected? Like the next time I have... Oh, here. Oh, that is cool. I don't think I've hardly ever used a mechanic like that. That's like this ongoing thing. But even though it's a one-time thing, you would be able to do it again as soon as you feel like. Now, this should be like a 3/5. And then you could do it again. Right, so enlist this shit. So leave one sort of untapped and then do it again. And then I could possibly use this to buff things in some other way. So now we're at least getting some good shit out there. I like this. So this is sort of the buff element, but this is what you need. So when low-cost minions have better buffs than low-cost spells, you know there's a problem. So where's all your stupid lightning shit now that was trying to save you last time? This is sacrifice to draw a card. Don't really care about that. Toxic flying, 3/3. Let's just kind of keep playing shit in general, and then we get to attack with this, enlist, attack, 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 and then enlist a little pony here. And you should be pretty much almost dead anyway. Or maybe if I hadn't enlisted so much, you might have already lost, but... Now, in before, they make a 180 play and just win the game and one-shot me, right? Like, this is how it can sometimes happen. Your board can be as good as you want, but don't make me pull out 9 lives to stall this out. This is actually a pretty fun indication of what this deck can do, though. But it had less to do with flying and Hexproof Ward than it just did to do with the base buffing capability. You just get that one card out there and it's, you know, whatever. If you can play stuff on the board and they can't deal with it, it can always be good. Okay, dude. But he's so low that you would think I'm still gonna win. You should have tried to take out this guy just in principle because he was the guy who really fucked you over this whole game. Like, how many times can you do this shit, dude? Fuck you. This one actually does better than the blue one, so I'll reward it by making it even better by like, yeah, even though it hasn't won like a single game the whole fucking time I've done this, I'll try to make it more like get rid of anything that's a buff till the end of turn and do it only with things that are flying or also buffing the buff minion. So hard commit to just that, right? And forget about all the other shit. Even the hexproof ward thing doesn't seem like that valuable, but you know, the main priority keywords should just be either flying or buffing, but they've got to be like permanent buffs, either when they enter the battlefield or whatever, when they're already out there just till the end of time. So that you can't do. 1, 2, 3, 4 is fine. We get another one of those pixie fairy type things, but this one's not as well statted. I don't know, I kind of like the idea of 9 lives, but that could fuck me over later. So we've at least shown that we can beat a silver ranked player in one game of a best of 3, which means it's already done better than anything. If a permanent was returned to the hand, give a +1/+1, which I doubt anything like that's going to even happen. Return up to 1 non-fairy, non-land permanent. Yeah, that's also something I've avoided doing generally, is using like multicolor rainbow type shit. Right, I just like the idea of, you know, you hard commit to one color and it comes with certain advantages, but, you know, like a 5-mana 10/10, oh, you got to use 5 green, but as if I wasn't doing that anyway. Creatures you control get +1/+1 till end of turn. Wow, how amazing. That's so fucking stupid, right? Like, it should just be permanent. It costs 5. Like, what do you mean, dude? Even if it costs 3, it's still till the end of turn, so I don't really care. Amped Raptor. Creature dinosaur, when it enters the battlefield, you get 2 of the thing. Okay. He clearly likes this mechanic. Which is still kind of novel, right? At least we don't see this very often. We get to see at least a decent amount of variety through all this shit. Enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life, draw a card. And it deals combat damage to a player, transform up to 1 incubator token. It's neither day or night. It becomes... I don't know why that's even really in there. Oh, because it has Ward 1, of course. That's all it takes. Now, let's make it like full degenerate flying, assuming I even have enough flying minions in the whole game that I can use as white, which that's mostly what it's about. Like angels and all this kind of stupid stuff. But no, I find that a lot of the time people can't deal with flying stuff very well. Like, they just don't have stuff with reach, or they don't have enough removal for it. So if you just have a deck full of flying things, eventually they're just not going to be able to stop you from hitting them in the face, and then you just win because of that alone. Okay. So we have a decent amount of shit here. I want to pull out the 9 lives when he least expects it. You can do that. Doesn't really matter between those two. You can do this as well. You can do this as well. When it dies, target creature you control gets explores. Or I did that by mistake. Just because I'm so eager to use flying all the time. I could actually still win this too. That would be pretty epic. Maybe I should only be able to change the deck if I win this. But no, since it already won the best of 3 set between the other one, regardless how little that means. This dude's kind of like me. He's hard committing to the electric mechanic, whether it's good or not. He's just using it like, you know, no holds barred. Now I can let myself get as low as I want, but this is also the burnout phase that I always get into, where I can't do anything about it because, you know, I don't have a lot of card draw, cycling, other kind of shit in my decks typically. Not much removal, not much card draw, not much healing, not anything besides just maybe face roll on the fucking board, but no matter what color I play it too, because that's an interesting interpretation of blue. Like, that's not really how you're probably typically meant to play blue. It's always about using spells out of your hand and using removal and all this kind of shit. So imagine having a blue deck that doesn't center around removal when that's like literally the whole fucking point of the thing. Just like having a white deck that doesn't have healing in it. I don't mind even taking damage, but there's nothing I can do with the board now. I'm just fucked. So let him get false hope that he's gonna win, and then I'll drag it out. This is always what fucking happens. Like, I can never do anything with respect to the dinky thing, like the board. They just had enough removal, so now there's nothing I can do. I don't have like one big end game play that we're gonna like really change the game with. But no, I like this guy's deck because at least it wasn't so because it's almost as bad as mine maybe, but it's not as, I don't know, maybe it is better than I think. But alright, now I have no choice but to do that, which still isn't gonna help me too much. At least I played it correctly this time. But again, 9 hits is not going to take that long for him to do, so I kind of need a fucking minion to come out here. Or in this time, I can still heal myself. Prevent that damage and put an incarnation counter. Okay, hurry up, dude. 2, he'll be up to 4, so it really will only take till maybe next turn or the turn after. So this is going to be good at least a little bit, but I'm not really going to be able to win. Fuck off. You get 2 lightning, then you pay any amount of lightning. But I think I stopped him from doing it, or he's going to do it again. He's doing it to my face. He's not doing it to the fucking thing. But I can never stop him from doing that, so even if I block his stuff, it's not going to matter. Okay, we got a dude. Okay, Hero the Orphan Guard. Yeah, that's fine. Creature gets +2/+2. Clearly, that's going to be the lethal push that I need. Fuck. At least I go out in style. Why are you even doing that shit? Why you even do that? I'm already dead, bro. This guy must be a bot. Like, what the fuck is the point of it? Oh, haha, I'm BMing you by just wasting both of our times by doing an interaction that has nothing to do with anything. It's not very satisfying to BM in this game, not like Hearthstone, because they have all those funny little emotes you can do that have double meanings. Like, they got rid of one of them, which I forget what it even was. Like, now it's WoW. From before, it was like some sort of other insult. Visit Hideaway, where you have to pay real currency to have the ability to start shopping, a shopping fee, right? Like, I thought it was one or the other. It would make more sense. So now let me try to fuck around with this particular flying thing. But this was like the newer one, I guess, that I made with it last time. So what I want is to get rid of everything that is a buff until the end of the turn, right? And then just put more flying until end of turn, okay? Until end of turn. Fuck off. That's actually fine. Or it's still until end of turn, though. It's until end of turn. That one's actually pretty good. So, for example, this, I could put more of them in there. This is also me trying to fit with the vibe of only having one of each copy of each card just for... Like, why is this even in there? Every creature you get +1/+1 till end of turn. Like, what the fuck, bro? Till end of turn. This isn't Orthanc from like Lord of the Rings, right? Or obviously the icon would show you that. +1/+3 flying till end of turn. Creatures you get +1 till end of turn. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. Okay, that's at least something. Can't be blocked by creatures power 4 or greater. That's actually not too bad, but it's still expensive. But a +1/+1. Okay, now this one actually works, right? You get a +1/+1, and only the vigilance is till end of turn, not the buff itself. Remove 2 +1/+1s, destroy target artifact or enchantment. It kind of makes sense with what I'm doing here, but flying, vigilance, flying. Creatures you control get +1/+1 vigilance till end of turn. I guess no, but that's what I'm trying to get rid of, is stuff like this, and it's 4 mana for that shit too. Flying, vigilance, fine. Target creature you control gets +2/+2 till end of turn. I don't even want that. Flying. That's really the only criteria we're doing here. Anything with flying, and I'm not going to have that much variety anyway. This thing has ward, so I don't see the point, though. We gotta Flying, ward, as long as it's equipped, don't really care. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life, fine. Flying, that's also fine. Ward, 3. When it enters the battlefield, exile non-land permanent opponent control. You know, I'll keep those 2 in there just for the novelty of it, I guess. Flying, 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 fuck off, dude. Flying. Okay, flying. Most of this is at least meeting that condition. So how much land then do I actually have in there? Because I seem to always be getting cucked on that. Let's just try to fill it in with the rest of other, again, multiple copies of the same thing I have or something else altogether. This, you don't have another copy. Let's just see. This is what? Create a 4/4 with flying, activate only if you have 7 more life, but I'm never really going to have that. But you can maybe do like 1 more of those. 1 more of those is actually pretty good. Whenever creature power 2 or less enters the battlefield, it gets fine till end of turn. These till end of turn effects are so fucking stupid, man. Let's try to look for some with a little better statting. Maybe that one. We need some maybe higher cost ones, or maybe we don't. Maybe the best way to win is just, I don't really want to go for the toxic mechanic either, because 3 mana 2/2, 3 mana 2/4, but that doesn't have flying. What is this? I don't even have enough of them, whatever. 2/1. Let's try to get some higher cost ones in here. Right, because most of this shit is low cost anyway. But some of them don't even have flying, so what's the point? Like this stupid ass Initiate. This thing is pretty good, actually. I like the statting on there, but of course it's going to be a little higher rarity. 4 mana 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, exile 2 target cards from a single graveyard. I guess we could fit some lower cost things in here still. Right, because I don't have... That's a 2/1. That's a 2/4. At the beginning of your upkeep, you haven't cast a spell. Doesn't have a counter. Put flying on it. 2/1, 2/1, 2/2. So now with the last 5, let me put a little higher cost stuff in there. I guess we did have more than I realized. Like even this thing isn't bad, but I don't have another copy. And I want some like higher cost, better statting things. 3 mana 3/4 with flying. What the fuck? Return a permanent you control to its owner's hand. If it's a non-angel creature, that could have its uses, I guess. Or I already had one. Wait, what? Okay. 4 mana 3/2. This is 5 mana 3/4. This one we already have. This is at least a permanent buff. So maybe I could have that in there, but it's so expensive, bro. It's pointless too, because everything you have is already gonna have flying anyway. Backup, flying, first strike, lifelink. What is backup? When this creature enters battle, we'll put a +1/+1. It's a 5 mana 4/4. Fine. This is a 5 mana, doesn't matter. Cast this only if a creature is attacking you. Summon 3 1/1s with flying. Why is that even good though? It's fucking 5 mana. What is this one now? Choose a creature, put +1/+1 counter, and then look at the top cards of your library. Put a permanent card with 3 or less. You know, this is kind of fun for the effect. If you get the... It's not going to happen, but... I mean, she starts with 5, though, so you would only need to do it for 2 turns. Flying, 5 mana 3/3. Why can't there just be ones with better statting? Like, how hard is it, dude? Like this, 5 mana 5/5. Like, fuck it, dude. This is 6 mana 5/5. I already have it. There's fucking nothing good, bro. 6 mana 3/5. What if I get a really high cost one? Like, let me look at like a mythic one or something. There's got to be something good. I don't want to even waste one of my wild cards, but just out of curiosity. Where is like a game-changing fucking high cost, absolutely god level white flying card that just has like an eye-popping stat, like maybe a 5 mana 5/5. Wow, 6 mana 6/6. That would be so much to ask, wouldn't it? 6 mana 5/5, or to have some other stupid ass 2 shield counters. Whenever it enters the battlefield attacks, you may remove a counter or attacks. 1/1 green citizen creature token. 6 mana 5/5. Whenever another creature you control dies, create a 1/1. That's actually a pretty good effect. Just look for one that's actually mythic to see if it's actually good value. There's a 7 mana 7/10 flying. Whenever it deals damage, roll a d20. You create a number of 1/1 blue fairy dragon tokens with flying to equal the result. Okay, I'll do that just because I'm kind of pissed about not having anything really good or high cost for this shit. And there's nothing else I can really make, I don't think. We need 2 more, and they're going to be kind of probably lower cost. What color is it that I even have? It's worse than that, right? It's the fucking just common. There could still be something here that could be common. What you want is a simple ability to 6 mana 4/3. No. Something sort of middle tier like this. We could do like maybe one of these. It's so expensive, bro. And maybe one other more of these angels or something stupid like that. You can't do this one. You could do this one, I guess. 6 mana 5/5. Some of the statting on that is just fucking disgustingly bad, though. Let me do like one more best of 3 just to see how this does. I guess since it did win the whole thing, right? It won the bout between those two, surprisingly, by winning what? Just like one game. So the main difference with this is just fucking full commit to flying. There's a lot of low statted, low cost ones. And we made even that mythic one, which we'll probably never even get to the point of being able to play that because whatever, but that could be at least a game changer. So whenever it attacks, you roll a d20 and you get like a number of little dinky flying tokens. And you also have Elspeth in there. So at least you have some potential win condition pseudo type things if the game drags on long enough, but I don't know what it is with land. Like, the whole notion of land would be criticized, but then people would say, well, just use these cards to cycle through your deck to get them, or use other things to get them, right? But the inherent act of simply drawing land, right, is such a cuck job negative thing, because it's like, you'll get a land when you don't need it, you'll top deck it, or you'll get too many, or you won't get enough, and it'll be like this whole thing that's just stupid. Where too much of the game can come down to that. That would have been true in the earlier history of the game. Maybe not as relevant now, but it's still like, you know, it's not a very good mechanic necessarily. Even with all the interplay, and, you know, that's why the mana thing is just guaranteed in other games. Sure, there's other things you can do to affect it, but like, you know, mana in Hearthstone or something, you just get one every turn automatically. Instead of, so it's assuming like you're getting a land, but I don't know. There are obviously good nuances to it, but wait, what? Oh, I guess because that's a permanent effect. That's why I kept it. There's not very much buffing shit in here anyway. Like, make a buff deck, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Pay 3 mana for a +1/+1. Like, what the fuck? Or you would even have the ability to, you know, oh, a lot of them just have only till the end of the turn. Okay, Dragon's Rage. Does that mean they're gonna have dragons, which means they actually have flying, which means they can actually block some of the shit I do? Because that's one thing that could hard counter me. Okay, so at least this we can do 3, 5, 5, which we're gonna need one more land to do this. It is kind of stupid though when it comes to, like, what if I just top deck a land every single turn? Then it's like, you know, oh, I'm never actually being able to play anything because I need more and more land. So you got to get them to a certain point, and then you don't need them anymore. That's why I like those mana generating minions from green so much, like the Caratids and stuff. That just makes so much more sense because now you're playing at least actively on the board. Some type of old god minion shit here. Power is equal to the number of card types among cards in your graveyard. Toughness is equal to that number +1. Exile any number of creatures. Okay. I'm really getting cucked on the land all the way, dude. And it's only natural that blue and white would both get cucked on land, because in terms of white, it should be the sky instead of a land, because it's all to do with flying, right? Like the heavens. That's not a land, it's a cloud, it's the sky. And the same thing with blue. That's not a land, it's an island, or it's the water, right? So it almost doesn't even make sense. Enter the battlefield, exile something. Flying, first drive, lifelink. This actually has a lot of shit going for it. Lifelink in particular would be very good. Just he's already down to my same level of health just because he's doing it at his own peril. Yeah, nice game, dude. Fun and interactive. I wait 5 moves to play 1 card just because I'm getting cucked on land, and then it gets countered. Like, what the fuck, bro? This is part of the reason why you would like Hexproof, or even this spell can't be countered, like Carnage Tyrant. My favorite card ever, maybe. Just because it just let me fucking do something, and then even if you beat me later, or deal with it on the board, I can live with that, but... Deion Sanders fan over here. Okay, let's see. Wasn't really the best start to a game. I mean, I do have a lot of these low-cost ones too, but... Now I'll never even get a chance to use that fucking mythic one, right? Like, this is how I average crafting thing. I'll go into like, oh, I want to use this type of gimmick or this color for temporarily, and then I'll craft a whole bunch of shit to do with it, even if I never end up using it again. But collectively, my collection must be pretty good then. Right, like I am going to have a lot of variety of shit to choose from as we keep going. It's just not going to always be the optimal thing, but... 7 mana, 7/10, right? But the question is, am I ever going to get 7 mana? It's amazing how much that happens though with every single one of my decks. That would even happen with green sometimes. But again, because of the minions, it wouldn't matter as much. Okay, this enlist guy single-handedly won me the other game, but he's going to obviously have tons of removal for it. And for a 1 cost, he's really not bad at all. We have the 3 cost coming in. We just need more land. I want to try to maybe play that thing. The other dinky fucker. The 7/10 if I can even get it. But again, we'll see if we even get to the point. You'd have to draw like 5 lands in a row now. Like, it's so stupid. But it's just not how the pacing of these games really goes. That's why I always mulligan for hands that just have a lot of land already in them. Otherwise, it's like you're going to be at the mercy of getting it. And obviously, everything I have is so inefficient. Everybody uses Thoughtseize. What a fun, creative, original idea. He'll probably pick the wrong thing, though, too. Because, like, I just want the lower cost stuff. I don't care about Seal of Existence. I don't care about that. They're all equally bad and random without any sort of synergy or meaning behind them. Like, I didn't even care about that. Now we need a little flying guy over here, so let me just do it. You would have been better off getting rid of the planes, for example, because I have no other way to get them. So I should just keep beating you with this, and if I beat you 10 times, despite whatever healing and shit you do, you would still be able to lose on Toxic. So I could have like 4 of those, or have like other ones that have flying. I'll actually look that up in the collection after this. How many flying Toxic ones are there? Because maybe I could get away with doing that. It would have to be like some other color combination still, but... Even the health I don't care about if I end up using 9 lives too, but you're not really guaranteed to get that. Let's see if they can do their return a permanent to its owner's hand. If it's a non-angel creature, it gets perpetually gained. Oh shit. So maybe we can get that as far as flying. So now everything we have is flying, and we could win the little DPS race here if they don't summon anything too crazy. So we have 4 mana. This next turn alone, we're gonna do 6, 7, 8, assuming they don't have removal. But the flying's gonna fuck me over. God damn it, now they're gonna drag the game out for far too long. Whenever you cast a creature spell, it gets +1/+1, and lists a creature. You may tap a non-tracking creature. When you do, add its power to this creature until end of turn. None of that's going to matter because it'll still trade into this shit. So give me like 1 more land, I could play this as well. But again, none of these statings are really that impressive. You have 3, 2, 3, 4. So we should get rid of that, but it'll be attacks if able, or no, wait, that's not a first strike thing. But imagine if I win, imagine if I win with an actual toxic counter thing. Like I end up hitting you 10 times with this, even if you heal and do other things. At least they're letting me hit them in the face a little bit here. I really need a land, though. Or just something else generally I can summon. Bro is copying me. Or I guess we could do both of these. Would be still fine. Creatures you control get +1/+1 till end of turn, but that's not even really why it's in there. There's no reason to even enlist. Let's just do this, period. We're going to get the toxic counter in. We're going to get at least a little damage in. They're going to block that. Their board isn't really that intimidating, but they do have the flying capability nonetheless. I would love it if it came down to that. Despite all their efforts, they'll end up losing the toxic instead of anything else. I mean, we do have a decent amount of damage here, but it's just fucking too slow. This would be actually kind of worth it. You know what, though? What if I don't care, though? Because they're so close to dying. They'll do 6, but then I'll do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I would need, like, +2, and then... But see, by tapping it, it's not really going to matter. I guess you could tap something that wasn't flying. Like, what if I just had a buff? What if I just had a buff for, like, 2 damage here? I could just win the game, but... Of course, there are no fucking buffs in this whole game. Or I guess not. Yeah, let me look how many flying toxic combination cards there could potentially be, because that could be a very triggering troll type of mechanic in itself. Like, try to, assuming that nobody has flying or can deal with it or reach or whatever, which, you know, sometimes you do get that where they just don't have an answer for it. You get toxic flying. So you have flying toxic here. Yeah, you would at least have to do different colors, but that in itself could be a deck archetype for me. Stream is so cool. Wondering, your reviewers, you think that's right? We can discuss more. Oh god, League of Big Streamers. If it's the League of Big Streamers, I probably shouldn't be in it because thanks for the follow. But yeah, I mean, I had more reviewers in the past, but I don't really care right now. Wait, none of this actually has. If you don't control a creature, toxic, blah blah blah. Target artifact gets flying. So if you were to try to tell me that you want to do 3, 3, and 4, and then like 4 of these, that would be interesting actually. Let me actually make it as a basic archetype. Like, it seems stupid, but maybe they wouldn't be able to deal with it if that's really all the ones they have in the game. Flying, toxic. None of the ones here. Enter the battlefield, create 2 1/1s. They can't block, that's not what it is. Or like, yeah, you could always just give something toxic, right? Like give Invisible Stalker toxic, maybe. Gets haste till end of turn. Wait, oh, that one we don't have. If you do, blah blah blah. So let me, oh wait, let me get out of this. Wait, I thought I was making a deck though. Why did it go away? Okay, let me try flying, toxic. Yeah, 1 2 3, 1 2, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3, and 1. Or actually, that one is not. Gains flying and toxic 1. I mean, even that might make a certain amount of sense because of the simple fact that you have. It could put you over the top and give it like an extra toxic counter. So then, what else do we not have in here? It would be, you should be able to put them in here still, right? Like, just to show that that would be something I want to add, like a wish list. You may pay 2 life and 1 if you do get a token that's a copy of a creature. Okay. That might actually have some relevance. This is, whenever you proliferate, if you don't control a creature, name the Hollow Sentinel, create a 3/3 colorless Phyrexian token, target creature gains flying and lifelink till end of turn. Where does it say even toxic? Or he's just toxic, period. And then this is what? Flying, toxic 1. It seems kind of like a troll stupid idea, but I obviously don't even have enough wild cards to do it. Okay, see you tomorrow.